So yeah, let's talk about. You mentioned originally Attila. You just wanted to be the bass player.
Oh yeah. So I hadn't really officially been in any bands at this point. I just like knew that I wanted to be in a band. I was 14 years old when I started Attila. Basically, I spent all my life savings to buy, like I went to Guitar Center, bought a nice bass amp, I bought a Fender Jazz bass.
Which, by the way, life savings.
Yeah,
14.
my life savings at 14. Like, but I was bagging groceries at a grocery store for literally like $3 an hour. Minimum wage was stupid, but also when you're 14, minimum wage is whatever they tell you. So every penny I could scrape up to my name, I bought all this bass equipment because I was gonna try out for this band. That was called something else at the time, and I went up, brought all my equipment up to the top of this barn in Georgia, where we started it all, and I plug in my equipment, and I'm playing, and I see the look on the other guys' faces at the time, and they're kind of like, not like super thrilled by me on bass, and they're just like, hey, do you do vocals?
Else?
Yeah. Did you do anything else besides bass?
Because at the time, the band was a guitar player and vocalist, like lead guitar and vocalist. So they're like, he doesn't really want to do vocals anymore. They're like, do you do vocals? And I was like, yeah, like I'm pretty good at it. They're like, all right. They threw the mic at me and they said, show us what you got. And they started going, and I just started screaming, and then everyone stopped, their jaws dropped, and they said, you're never gonna play bass again. And I was like,
and then you didn't.
And then I did it.
And you were like, thank God.
I never played bass again a day in my life, but also like I was so grateful and thankful, but at the same time, part of me was like, God damn it, I just spent so many hundreds of dollars on all this bass gear because I wanted to impress them, and now it's just all like collecting dust. Like
Yeah. And it's the ultimate sweet and sour too, because it's like the band was basically like, you suck, but you're awesome.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second.
Bittersweet, but then the rest is history. I became the vocalist. We came up with the name Attila because someone was in a bookstore and saw a book about Attila the Hun, and we're just like, sure, whatever, like Attila. We didn't want, all the band names back in 2004 were like blood, bleeding, dying, death.
Yeah, or like you know, what is it? Verb the noun.
Yeah.
Like a lot of bands were verb the noun.
Very long names.
Blood, bleeding, dying, death, and you had to have like long things, and we all just mutually agreed like one word, keep it simple, done. So Attila was born, we started, and the rest is history.
So how did these three become sort of the core trio of what Attila is over the years?
So founded when I was 14 in 2004, but you came in like literally like 2 years later.
Yeah.
So you came in real early.
That was what Nate Solomon made. I was in a different local band in Atlanta too, and then we just did a bunch of shows together, and I started hanging out with the other guitarist in the band, and then I feel like they need to fill in for. Oh, Matt, something happened.
I think something was going on with our like guitarist where something with like drugs or this or that, or he was just kind of
I think it just came to
and
fill
just
in.
Kind of like came away, and then we were like, we got to get Chris Link from Vitriol. This is your band name, because he was like the biggest shredder of all time, and honestly the only person that could like do what
you guys were doing at the time.
We needed to do, because we were southern metal with like shreddy solos. We were like mini Pantera essentially when we started Attila. So he was the only one that could fill the shoes, and I remember like just, man, I really hope we can get this guy, because you were like our only hope. You know, if you didn't do it, there would have been no one else, like physically impossible.
Yeah,
so.
like back in the day, it wasn't like, hey, we'll just fly, Jeff Chris from Indiana out to play guitar for us.
There wasn't like the internet.
Like you had to find
form these
someone
internet
within
bands.
like 10-mile radius.
Reasonable,
Yeah.
Like I can't afford to make it to band practice 3 hours away.
Yeah.
It's like
That wasn't
so
a thing.
everything just fell into place perfectly, and Chris joined the band, and it's funny because he's like, I was probably like 16 and you were 14, and then we're starting to tour, but you're so fucking young that your parents had to like sign like a permission slip for school to like let you tour, and then we would do all your homework for you on the road, like, because he had to.
I had online school because we got signed to that one Static Factory Records or whatever, and then in the middle of a school year. They're like, well, you have this tour, and then you got to go to Detroit, record this album.
You're like, that's cool, by the way, I'm 14.
Yeah, like you're like, I'm a little child, and it's like, all right, my parents signed the permission slip, just do your school online. And then because we had already done those classes, because we were a couple years older, we were just like filling out all your answers for you. You're getting straight A's on the road.
Amazing.
And then basically from that point, I would say, God, how long, when was it first official that you played with us? Like before you were in the band, but you played with us, like 10, 12 years ago?
12.
What would the year
before
be?
this? 2 years, 12 years ago maybe?
Okay.
This is
So 2011.
Yeah.
So 2011, long story short, we were touring with For the Fallen Dreams, and Kalen was in For the Fallen Dreams. And then we just got along really well. Like, we would hang out all the time, and everything clicked. And at the time, we had a bass player. So it wasn't like, hey, we're gonna steal you from the band, but everything just kind of fell in place perfectly. Because what happened is after the first tour that we did with For the Fallen Dreams, where we met Kalen, our bass player after that tour did a crazy acid trip, saw God, and God told him that Attila is Satan and the devil, and he has to quit the band. So we get this like frantic call from this dude on acid saying he has to quit the band. We're like, all right, cool, whatever, like, good luck. Like, we'll figure it out. And so basically, like, the funny story about Kalen, I made a list of bass players. It wasn't like that deep of a list. It was probably like 5 to 10 people, but it was like, all right, number 1, Kalen. Number 2, this person from, I think it was like a Skylit Drive or something.
Oh, yeah.
Number 3, this person. Number 4, like, and I had a list. So I was like, all right, time to start making calls.
But they were people that you'd essentially be poaching from other bands, though, right?
Essentially,
because how else do you know?
We had to.
Yeah,
that's
that's
we
all
had
you can
to,
do.
because at that point we were like on the full-time touring circuit,
Yeah.
and we wanted someone that also was used to full-time
But it's not just like,
touring.
oh, I know these random bass players who are pro and experienced and have nothing to do. It's more like,
Yeah.
You got to have
I'm thinking
touring
of them,
experience.
I'm thinking about bands that they're in, yeah.
So at the time I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I pick up the phone and I call Kalen and I'm like, hey, it's Franz. Our bass player quit. Do you want to be the full-time bass player for Attila? And he was like, just give me
a couple weeks or so.
give me like a week or so, like give me 4 or 5 days at least, like let me just think about it. And I was like, okay, fine. And then 10 minutes goes by and he calls me back 10 minutes later and goes, I'm in. So,
I really need some time to think about this.
Well, part about that story that's crazy is that
what happened in those 10 minutes?
Well, no, it goes a
So
little bit
much
deeper
happened.
than that. Like I was kind of unhappy at like how things were going in my band at that time. And I remember I went to go visit my mother, and I was actually at my mom's house, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, not even talking about Attila, like I'm just unhappy.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, he called me like 30. My mom was like, well, then do what you want to do. Just quit the band if you don't want to be in the band. Like, I don't know what you're doing this. So I was like, I'm gonna quit. Remember telling my mom, I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do this one last tour with them. I already signed up for it. And then he calls me. And I was like, I got along with these guys so well. I was like, it was just very,
destiny.
it was very strange that he happened to call me.
Yeah. Well, that was God and the acid trip,
Yeah,
obviously.
maybe.
He's
Oh,
like,
damn.
they're Satan, get out of there. And then he's
Yeah,
like,
I was just like, the way things lined up was just very
Crazy how
crazy. The
perfect it
universe
worked.
was just putting it,
serendipitous, yeah.
right? It almost was like, yeah, you have to do this now. So
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the actual definition of like, you know,
Fate,
one
or
door
like-
closes, another one
yeah,
opens.
exactly.
Like, that's
But-
great.
yeah, it was very very strange period. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like not many points in your life does something like that happen.
Like within
Where-
that time span.
With that time span, you know what I mean? Because I'm like already
Yeah.
trying to process, like, I've been with this one band for 4 years. It's kind of hard to like process that you're going to leave something. that
Sure.
you
I mean, it
invested that
becomes
much
like your whole
time.
identity.
Exactly.
You're like, tomorrow, like, what's it going to be like waking up the first day and not the dude from the
Exactly.
band?
And then getting that phone call literally like,
Like, oh, it'll be
10
now
minutes.
because now I'm the dude in Attila. That's
Exactly.
what I'll be like.
Cool.
And then
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
Upgrade.
like later that night, literally after he said he was in the band, we got a call that we like got a tour with Asking Alexandria and As They Lay Dying.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, oh
It was
shit,
just
by the way.
all
Just
destiny.
kinda
like,
rolling, yeah.
Everything fell into place perfectly.
Very quick.
that's how we all became an Attila, and it's been the same ever since the past 12 years.